Ukraine destroys Russian fighter jets, Russia faces fuel shortages after strikes on oil refineries, and Donald Trump shifts his rhetoric after learning about Ukraine's planned counteroffensive. Top international stories coming up. Ukrainian military intelligence says its special forces destroyed 2 Russian An-26 aircraft in Crimea. The Defense Ministry's intelligence directorate confirmed the strike today. Ukrainian military intelligence says its special forces carried out a raid in occupied Crimea, destroying 2 Russian An-26 transport aircraft. The elite unit known as the Ghosts also struck enemy radar installations, including a coastal surveillance station. Officials in Kyiv say their fighters continue to target Russia's high-value assets on the peninsula. Meanwhile, on the Eastern Front, Ukraine's military says its forces have shot down a Russian Su-34 fighter jet in the Zaporizhia region. The aircraft was reportedly taking part in attacks on the regional center and surrounding areas. Officials say the jet had been carried out strikes with guided air bombs before it was destroyed. Russia is facing a deepened fuel crisis after Ukrainian drone strikes on its oil refineries. Local media report that gas stations across central Russia, the Volga region, the south and the far east are now limiting sales. Drivers can purchase no more than 10 to 20 liters of petrol at a time, and some stations offer only diesel fuel. Even major companies like Lukoil have introduced restrictions, banning takeaway sales at certain Moscow stations and suspending fuel card services in parts of Nizhny Novgorod. Meanwhile, in occupied Crimea, fuel shortages have become even more critical. Reports from Radio Free Europe's Crimea Realities say petrol has completely disappeared from pumps since September 24th, including premium brands like A100. The lack of fuel is quickly affecting daily life. Taxis are hard to find, public transport is overcrowded, and far fewer cars are on the roads. Observers warn that the crisis is worsening, with no clear timeline for when fuel supplies might return. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says weapons determine who survives in conflicts. Speaking at the United Nations General Assembly in New York, Zelensky warned that international law does not always work in full when there are no powerful allies ready to defend it, or when there is no effective weaponry. He stressed that having strong defense capabilities is essential for survival in today's world.
Today, no one but ourselves can guarantee security. Only strong alliances, only strong partners, and only our own weapons. The 21st century isn't much different from the past. If a nation wants peace, it still has to work on weapons. It's sick, but that's the reality. Not international law, not cooperation. Weapons decide who survives.
Volodymyr Zelensky criticized the weakness of international institutions, saying they are unable to stop the bloodshed. He argued that countries and peoples who want to live in peace must arm themselves and invest in their own defense. The Ukrainian leader also stressed that Russia's war against Ukraine is only the beginning. Stopping Russian President Vladimir Putin now, he said, would be far less costly than rebuilding economies later, as Moscow continues to expand operations across Europe, leaving no nation truly safe.
Ukrainians are peaceful people, but they are people who want to live freely in their own independent country. That's why we invest in defense. For many nations, there is simply no other way left. Nations can speak about their pain from stages like this, but even during bloodshed, there isn't a single international institution that can truly stop it. That's how weak these institutions have become.
US President Donald Trump has shifted to a more supportive tone on Ukraine after consulting with advisors and reviewing plans for Ukrainian offensive. Despite this change in rhetoric, his policy on Ukraine remains unchanged, particularly regarding limits on the use of US weapons for strikes, the Wall Street Journal reports. US President spent several days preparing for the meeting, consulting with senior officials who have long pushed for a tougher stance on Russia. Among them were Special Envoy Kit Kellogg and the new US Ambassador to the UN, Michael Waltz. They reportedly told Trump that Russia has made only limited progress on the front lines in recent years. Trump was also briefed on Ukraine's planned offensive, which will likely require support from US intelligence. Sources suggest that Ukraine's acceptance of US calls for a ceasefire and its public thanks to Donald Trump for his effort to end the war may have influenced his more positive rhetoric. However, insiders note that Trump policy itself has not changed. While arms sales continue, he is still restricting the use of American weapons for strikes on Russian sovereign territory. Meanwhile, Ukrainian forces are making gains on multiple fronts, according to the latest report from the Institute for the Study of War. Recent geolocation footage shows Ukraine's soldiers advancing east of Kazatsk and into the eastern part of Novopavlivka on the Pokrovsky front. On the Liman front, troops moved north of the village of Torske, gaining ground against Russian positions. Over the past 24 hours, Ukraine's general staff says its army stops 49 Russian attacks on the Pokrovsky front and 25 on the Liman front. The Dnipro Operation Group reports that Ukrainian forces successfully repelled Russian advances near Kazatsk and Torske. Analysts say these counterattacks show Ukraine's growing momentum and determination to reclaim key territory. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, hit the like button, subscribe and let us know your thoughts in the comments.